where blood and cries of men, women, and children are heard louder than the whips that have ripped the skin off of our backs. So settling in Dubuque, we came louder than the cries that still rang in our blood, carrying our ancestors in a cloth-like carrying sack. Filled with the cries and the tears, but also the drive we had before we were enslaved. The reason Nathaniel and Charlotte Morgan was able to come build so easily is because the real history of our ancestors were unconsciously engraved. The way they came to pave the way for those to come was living proof we reigned in our kingdom. Living proof that there was a time we walked in our freedom. The 1830s was a time where blacks weren't supposed to read and write. But they came here owning property and chasing freedom as their God-given right. We had to band together to teach our own kids because there was no school that were allowed in. If all we knew were to be enslaved, and that's what we began, how did we create so much magic then? Because we carry ancestry of kings and queens, it's not hard to tap into certain things. Like being 12 years old and knowing what it is to fight for education equality.
It is very important that as a community we support this. These shows cannot and will not continue unless we have unity and community partners to help facilitate these shows.
If you have children that you want to grow up in an admiration of love and peace and equal rights, it's important to know and instill these things into your kids to know, like, this is the history of what we and what they went through, so that way, all right, I don't want to become another one of them, so what can I do to not become that, and what can I do to help overcome this instead of being the problem? And like she said, using your voice.
At Filth and Locust is cornerstone laid, the first black church in Iowa where souls were swayed. A beacon of hope, a sanctuary of grace where faith was found, is dwelling place. By 1835, the Morgan landowners true, Lot 1 in Dubuque, a prominent view, at first in Maine.
Death was her name, slim was her frame, with all black silky hair and tall black boots that reached her knees. I wasn't worried about it. Shit, maybe a little nervous about it.
Addresses were a secret, so they didn't get caught. Yet Victor Green did the opposite of what our ancestors were taught. The Negro Motorist Green Book put addresses on display, safe houses around the country where black people could stay.
To then 12-year-old Susan Clark, so brave and bold to stand racism in the face. We reverence you.
Their presence known, closer to the Mississippi, where the rivers flown, where history tellers tell the struggle, face of black Dubuque, their own sacred space.
712 University Avenue, an address here in Dubuque, opening the door to black people like me and you.
To Theatrice Gibbs for giving Dubuque immaculate athletic talent when every barrier was against you because of your race, we celebrate you.
795 Robert Streets was here too. Homes filled with laughter and stories about what we went through. The Overground Railroad, black people stuck together like glue, making way for acceptance in a world where being black is taboo.
The sad part is that I can stand here and in 5 minutes give you the entire black history of Dubuque. That's not upsetting and alarming to you? Oh, that as a black woman, I can stand and tell you that unfortunately we still fight.
Say it.
Rewriting history on the same ground where just 100 years ago we weren't allowed.
Say it.
So excuse me if our voice is too loud.
The African Methodist Episcopal Church, they say, through the trials and triumphs, they stood strong. In Dubuque history, their voices belong. So let us remember these pioneers of faith, their courage, their resilience in every way. For the footsteps we proudly tread, honoring their legacy as we forge ahead. Now that one was based on Nathaniel and Charlotte Morgan.
Yeah, say it.
It's the sacks on our backs that's filled with the queens and kings that gives us the tenacity to continue to set tables and open doors.
All right now.
The sack from where our creativity pours. The sack from where our history stored. The more we do, the louder we get. Dubuque, you hear us yet?
Say it. My girl.
Wow.
Say it and share it. Say it and
Wow.
share it. All right now.
Wow. I'm so blessed, so honored to be on the same stage with these talented individuals, y'all.
All right.
It's a blessing. I do not take this opportunity for granted.